Local time, 7 o'clock Terran Standard, though the smog blocks all sunlight. Atmospheric density, 120% standard gravity. Heavy metal particulate saturation. The air on Avaris Prime does not move. It hangs. It is a suffocating blanket of recycled promethium fumes, incense and human sweat, cycling through ventilation systems that haven't been fully cleaned in 6,000 years. To the 200 billion souls living in the Hive City of Sanctum Tertius, this is not oppression, it is simply existence. In the lower Hab blocks, the concept of up is theoretical. There is only the ceiling of the floor above you, a hierarchical, crushing weight where the nobility lives in the spire, piercing the smog, and the dregs live in the roots, recycling the waste. The camera pans across a bustling market square in the mid-hive. Servitors, lobotomized cyborg slaves, lumber past, carrying crates of ammunition. Preachers with vocal implants scream liturgy from street corners, their voices amplified to ear-bleeding decibels. Repent, for the Emperor watches. A moment of laxity spawns a lifetime of heresy. Amidst the gray and the rust, a figure walks. He does not blend in, yet he does not stand out due to flashing lights or armor. He stands out because of his gait. The narrator's voice cuts in, calm, detached, clinical. Narrator. Observe the walking cadence of Subject A. The average citizen of Avaris Prime walks with a hunched spinal curvature of 15 degrees, a subconscious defensive posture developed over generations of fearing arbitrary punishment from above. They look down, they shuffle. Subject A, however, walks with a spinal alignment that is perfectly perpendicular to the ground. His stride length suggests a confidence index of 99.9%. He wears a simple, heavy tan coat that appears woven from a fiber unknown to the Adeptus Mechanicus, and a pair of red V-shaped sunglasses rest on his forehead. Greater than asterisk, he is looking up asterisk. On Avaris Prime, looking up is a biological anomaly. There is nothing to see but rusty pipes and dripping coolant, yet his ocular focus is set to infinity, as if his gaze is penetrating the miles of adamantium plating above him. Simon stops at a food stall. The vendor, a man with a cybernetic eye and skin the color of old parchment, glares at him. "Credits," the vendor grunts, "or thrown gelt. No barter." Simon blinks. He looks at the food, a block of corpse starch, recycled protein from the dead. He doesn't look disgusted. He looks sad. "I don't have that," Simon says. His voice is soft, lacking the guttural, aggressive edge of the local Gothic dialect. "But I can help you fix that generator. It's leaking radiation, isn't it?" He points to the sputtering power unit beside the stall. The vendor recoils. "You a tech priest? You got the rights of maintenance?" "I'm just a driller," Simon says with a small, unassuming smile. Narrator. At this specific moment, the vendor experiences a spike in cortisol. In the Imperium of Man, unauthorized knowledge is indistinguishable from heresy. To repair a machine without chanting the proper prayers to the machine god is not kindness. It is a crime. "Get away from me," the vendor hisses, making the sign of the Akala across his chest. "Arbites, we got a deviant here." Simon sighs. It is a heavy sigh, one that carries the weight of a man who has seen this reaction in a dozen universes before. He doesn't run. He doesn't argue. He just stands there, his hands in his pockets. The crowd parts, not out of respect, but out of the survival instinct of herd animals sensing a predator, or rather, sensing a victim about to be mauled. From the shadows of the alleyways they emerge. The Adeptus Arbits, the enforcers of the Lex Imperialis. They are clad in black carapace armor, wielding shock mauls and shotguns. Their helmets are featureless slabs of ceramic, designed to strip them of humanity and project only authority. "Citizen!" the lead enforcer barks, his voice amplified by a vox grill. "Identify, designation, and work unit." Simon turns to face them. He looks small compared to the bulk of the armored officers. "I'm Simon," he says. "I don't have a unit. I just got here." The enforcer tilts his head. Narrator. The enforcer's threat assessment cogitator is currently malfunctioning. It is attempting to categorize the threat level of the individual before it. Physical scan. No visible armor. No visible weaponry. Muscle density. High but within human limits. Threat level. Low. However, the enforcer's biological intuition, the lizard brain inherited from primal ancestors, is screaming an alert. It detects a pressure, not psychic pressure, not the cold touch of the warp, but a sense of density, as if the man standing there has the mass of a neutron star compressed into a human shape. Unsanctioned travel, the enforcer states, raising his shock maul. Failure to produce identification. Suspicion of tech heresy. You are under arrest, submit, or be pacified. Simon looks at the maul, then he looks at the enforcer's helmet. "You guys are scared," Simon says. It's not an insult. It's a diagnosis. Why is everyone in this city so scared? Even the air feels like it's trembling. "Silence!" The enforcer swings. Narrator. The shock maul is a weapon designed to discharge 15,000 volts of electricity upon impact, enough to boil the nerve endings of an unaugmented human and induce immediate neuromuscular incapacitation. The swing takes 0.4 seconds. At 0.2 seconds, the maul is halfway to its target. At 0.3 seconds, Simon's left hand moves from his pocket. The motion is not fast, it is efficient. It is the movement of a man who has drilled through the fabric of space-time and perceives a swinging club as a tectonic plate moving over a century. He does not dodge. To dodge implies the attack has authority over his position. Crack. The sound echoes through the market. The shock maul has stopped. It hangs in the air, vibrating violently. Simon has caught it, not by the handle, by the active electrified head. He holds it between his thumb and forefinger. The electricity arcs wildly, blue lightning dancing over Simon's skin. But it doesn't burn him. It doesn't convulse his muscles. The energy hits his skin and simply dissolves. It is absorbed into a greater green energy that lies just beneath his epidermis. "That's dangerous," Simon says gently. "You shouldn't swing these at people." Narrator. The enforcer pulls. The weapon does not move. He activates his armor's servos, increasing his lifting strength to 3 times that of a normal man. The weapon does not move. Physically, Simon weighs approximately 70 kilograms, yet to the enforcer, it feels as though he is trying to uproot a mountain. This is the concept of spiral mass. Simon is not merely anchoring himself to the floor, he is anchoring his coordinate in space-time. He has decided he is standing there. Therefore, the universe has no choice but to agree. With a gentle twist of his wrist, Simon snaps the head off the shock maul. The metal shears like dry clay. The crowd goes silent. The silence is absolute. Then the screaming starts. "Witch!" Someone shrieks. "Psyker! Burn him!" The other 4 enforcers raise their combat shotguns. Lethal force authorized. Boom, boom, boom. High-caliber slugs, designed to tear through flak armor, erupt from the barrels. Simon sighs again. He closes his eyes for a fraction of a second. Narrator. A bolter round or combat slug travels at hypersonic speeds. To the human eye, it is instantaneous death. To Simon, who has piloted mecha at superluminal velocities, the bullets are drifting like seeds in a gentle breeze. Simon takes a single step forward. He does not raise a shield. He does not deflect them with his hands. He simply walks through the trajectory. The bullets hit his coat. They flatten. They fall to the ground, smoking deformed lumps of lead. He didn't harden his skin. He didn't use telekinesis. Narrator. The bullets failed to penetrate because of the spiral field generated by his biorhythm. In simple terms, the kinetic energy of the bullets possessed a lower will to exist than the coat Simon is wearing. When two realities clash, the reality where the bullet pierces and the reality where Simon is unharmed, the stronger will overwrite the weaker physics. Simon reaches the lead enforcer, who is now trembling, his bravado shattered by the impossible. Simon reaches out and gently taps the enforcer's helmet. "Who is in charge?" Simon asks. "I need to talk to the person who put that ceiling there." He points up, not to the hive ceiling, but past it, to the atmosphere, to the blockade of ships orbiting the planet, to the stifling oppression of the Imperium itself. Time. 1 hour later. Location. Upper Hive Spire, Cathedral of the Sacred Blood. The escalation protocols of the Imperium are clumsy but overwhelming. When a street patrol fails, they send the kill teams. When the kill teams fail, they send the guard. When the guard fails, they call the Inquisition. Simon sits on the steps of the massive cathedral. He is surrounded. 3 Valkyrie gunships hover overhead, their heavy bolters spun up and locked on his skull. A platoon of stormtroopers, Kasserkin, stands in a semicircle, their hell guns humming with hot-shot last packs. But the real threat walks through the cathedral doors. He wears power armor of ornate gold and crimson. A rosette hangs from his neck. He carries a force hammer that crackles with disrupted energy, and on his shoulder sits a cyber eagle with glowing red eyes. Inquisitor Lord Valerius. A man who has condemned a dozen worlds to exterminatus. A man who believes mercy is a disease. Valerius stops 10 meters from Simon. He studies the boy, for he looks like a boy, sitting casually on the holy steps. "You possess great power," Valerius says. His voice is amplified, booming like thunder. "Yet you bear no mark of the sanctioned psyker. You carry no rosarius. You are an anomaly." "I'm Simon," Simon repeats. He stands up, dusting off his pants. "I am Inquisitor Lord Valerius of the Ordo Hereticus. You have assaulted imperial servants. You have displayed unsanctioned resilience. By the laws of the Holy Ordos, you are to be purged." Valerius raises his hammer. "But I am a pragmatic man. If you submit to the black ships, perhaps you can serve the Emperor as fuel. Kneel." Simon looks at the Inquisitor. He looks at the gunships. He looks at the terrified faces of the citizens peeking from the windows miles away. "This Emperor," Simon says, "does he tell you to keep people in the dark? Does he tell you to make them live in fear so they don't look up?" Valerius stiffens. "The Emperor protects. He shields us from the horrors of the warp. Without the fear of God, humanity would be consumed by demons. We build walls to keep the monsters out." Simon shakes his head slowly. "No," Simon says. "You build walls to keep the people in. I've seen it before. A village underground. A leader who said the surface was death. He was scared, just like you." Narrator. Dramatic irony, Valerius believes he is speaking to a naive heretic who understands nothing of chaos. He does not know he is speaking to a man who lived the first 14 years of his life in a hole in the ground, eating mole pigs, told that the sky was a myth. Valerius is making the exact same argument as the village chief of Jiha, and Simon has little patience for village chiefs who hide the sun. "Blasphemy," Valerius roars. "The stars are full of death. Only the insane seek to explore beyond the light of the Astronomicon." "The stars are full of friends you haven't met yet," Simon counters. His voice is rising now. The air around him begins to warp. Not the purple corruption of the warp, but a green, oscillating heat. "Kill him," Valerius commands. "Open fire!" The 3 Valkyrie gunships open fire simultaneously. Heavy bolters, rocket pods. The Kasserkin unleash a torrent of high-energy laser fire. It is enough firepower to level a city block. The explosion engulfs Simon. Smoke, fire, and shrapnel tear up the cathedral steps. The noise is deafening. Valerius watches, satisfied. No shield can withstand that saturation. But then the smoke begins to spin. It doesn't drift away. It rotates faster and faster. A green light pierces the black soot. Narrator. The sensory auspexes of the Valkyrie gunships begin to scream. They are detecting an energy surge. The readings are nonsensical. The energy is not thermal. It is not radioactive. It is not psychic. The machine spirits of the gunships are confused. They report that the target's mass is increasing exponentially. 10 tons, 100 tons, 1,000,000 tons. A voice cuts through the smoke. It is no longer soft. It is the voice of a leader. "Is that all?" The smoke clears instantly, blown away by a shock wave of pure willpower. Simon stands there. One hand is raised. Floating in front of his palm is a small golden drill. It spins lazily. The bullets, the lasers, the rockets, they are all caught in a spiral orbit around him, suspended in midair, harmless toys trapped in his gravity. "You talk about walls," Simon says, stepping forward. The stone beneath his feet cracks, unable to bear the weight of his presence. "You talk about protecting people by burying them. I'm sick of hearing it." He clenches his fist. The suspended bullets disintegrate into green sparks. What are you?" Valerius steps back, his hammer trembling. He can feel it. The warp isn't surging. The warp is retreating. The Imperium, the realm of chaos, is actually receding from this boy, terrified of the order he imposes on reality. Simon reaches into his coat. He pulls out a small metallic face. Lagann. He throws it into the air. "Lagann, impact!" The small mecha expands, limbs unfolding. Simon jumps, merging with the cockpit in a blur of motion. The small red mech lands on the cathedral steps. It is tiny compared to a dreadnought, tiny compared to the Valkyries. But the eyes of the mech flash with a light that outshines the smog-choked sun. Narrator. Evolution is not a straight line. It is a drill. It turns going back and forth, but with every rotation, it advances a fraction of an inch. The Imperium of Man has spent 10,000 years spinning in a circle, mistaking repetition for survival. Today, that circle breaks. "Inquisitor!" Simon's voice amplifies from the mech, echoing across the entire Hive City. "You said the sky is full of monsters. Let's see if you're right." The Lagann crouches. The drill on its forehead begins to spin. Whirr screech. The sound is not mechanical. It is the sound of physics screaming in protest. "Target the cockpit!" Valerius screams. "Bring it down!" The Valkyries dive. Simon doesn't wait. Drill! Break! He doesn't aim at the ships. He aims at the sky. The Lagann launches upward. It does not fly. It pierces. It treats the air like solid ground and drills through it. The shock wave flattens the Kasrkin. Valerius is thrown onto his back, his force field flickering. He looks up. The smog layer of Avaris Prime is 5 miles thick. It has not broken in millennia. Simon hits the cloud layer, a funnel of green energy, wide as the Hive spire itself, erupts into the heavens. Narrator. The output of spiral energy in this millisecond exceeds the thermal output of the planetary core. Simon is not pushing the clouds aside. He is rewriting the atmospheric conditions of the planet through sheer refusal to accept a cloudy day. The clouds shatter. They don't just part. They are obliterated, dissolved into nothingness by the spiral force. For the first time in 10,000 years, a beam of pure, unfiltered sunlight strikes the cathedral square. It hits Valerius in the face. He blinks, blinded, tears streaming down his face. Not from sadness, but from the raw, agonizing brightness of a star he has only seen in stained glass. High above, the Valkyries are caught in the wake. They spiral out of control, their engines choked by the sheer density of the fighting spirit flooding the air. Simon hovers in the upper atmosphere, the Lagann glowing like a second sun. He projects his voice down to the billions of souls looking up from the Hive slums, shielding their eyes from the terrifying light. "My name is Simon," he roars. "I'm the leader of Team Gurin, and I'm telling you, the ceiling is a lie. If there's a wall in our way, we knock it down. If there's no path, we carve one with our own hands." Valerius scrambles to his feet, clutching his rosette. He is trembling. This is not heresy. Heresy is corrupt. This is something else. This is something older than the Imperium. He cleared the sky, Valerius whispers, with a single strike. Narrator. In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. There is no hope. There is no progress. But Simon the Digger does not acknowledge the genre of the story he is in. He has decided this is no longer a grimdark tragedy. He has decided it is a shonen, and the universe, terrified of his conviction, is beginning to agree. Simon descends slowly, the green energy fading, leaving only the clear blue sky above. He lands in front of the Inquisitor. The mech powers down, and Simon hops out. He walks up to the paralyzed Inquisitor Valerius. "Now," Simon says, pointing a thumb at the newly revealed stars where... Location: the Immaterium, the warp. Time: T-0.0 seconds from the Giga Drill Break event. The warp is not a place. It is a sea of emotion, a dimension of pure psychic energy where the laws of physics are merely suggestions made by mad gods. It is usually a cacophony, a billion screaming souls, the laughter of thirsting gods, the grinding of tectonic plates made of blood and bone. But at the moment Simon pierced the cloud layer of Avaris Prime, the warp did not scream. It flinched. Narrator. To understand the magnitude of this event, one must understand the nature of the Imperium. The warp feeds on emotion. Rage fuels Khorne. Despair fuels Nurgle. Excess fuels Slaanesh. Change fuels Tzeentch. Simon's energy is none of these. Spiral power is not hope in the 40,000 sense, which is often a prelude to despair. Spiral power is evolution. It is the mathematical certainty that tomorrow will be better than today because one wills it to be so. It is greater than applied to the human soul. It is order imposed through sheer dynamism. When Simon's drill pierced the sky, It acted as a reality anchor. For a radius of 50,000 light-years, the chaotic, fluid nature of the warp hit a solid wall of logic. Demons did not just die, they ceased to be conceptually possible. The warp didn't surge, it retracted, recoiling like a hand touching a hot stove. A vacuum of pure, unadulterated sanity blasted through the galaxy. Location: the Imperial Palace, Holy Terra, the throne room. Subject: the Custodian Guard / the Emperor. The machinery of the Golden Throne hums with the tortured souls of 1,000 psychers sacrificed daily. It is a song of agony that has not ceased for 10 millennia. Suddenly, the hum changes pitch. Captain General Trajan Valoris, standing vigil, tightens his grip on his watcher's axe. The lights in the sanctum flicker, not to darkness, but to a blinding, crisp white. The Astronomicon, the psychic lighthouse used to navigate the galaxy, skips a beat. Narrator: for 0.8 seconds, the Emperor of Mankind stopped screaming. The Corpse Emperor, shattered and fragmented across the warp, fighting an eternal war against the 4 Chaos Gods, felt the pressure lift. Just for a heartbeat, the tide of demons clawing at the Terran Webway Gate vanished, swept away by a sudden gravitational pull from the Segmentum Solar. In the silence of his fractured mind, a single coherent thought formed, a memory of an ancient era, before the Primarchs, before the Thunder Warriors. A memory of when humanity looked at the stars not with fear, but with hunger. The Emperor did not speak, but the tarot cards in the hands of every sanctioned psyker on Terra simultaneously flipped to a card that does not exist in the Imperial deck: the Fool, the card of infinite potential. Location: the flagship, Macraga's Honor, Indomitus Crusade, Fleet Primus. Subject: Robout Guilliman, Primarch of the Ultramarines, Lord Commander of the Imperium. Guilliman stands over the strategic hololith. He is tired. He is always tired. He is a man of logic trying to govern an empire of superstition. Lord Commander, a tech priest Dominus chirps, his mechadendrites twitching in distress. Auspec's readings from the Avaris sector are illogical. Guilliman rubs his temples. Clarify, is it a warp storm? A Tyranid splinter fleet? No, Lord Commander. The warp density in that sector has dropped to absolute zero. The Geller fields on local merchant ships have automatically disengaged because there is nothing to protect against. The background radiation of the universe has shifted. The localized Planck constant has increased by 0.04%. Guilliman freezes. He looks at the data slate. He sees the image captured by a deep space probe, a beam of green light piercing the dark, rotating in a double helix pattern. Narrator: Guilliman possesses a transhuman intellect capable of processing tactical data faster than a cogitator. He runs a simulation 10,000 times in a microsecond. Every simulation concludes that this energy signature is impossible. It violates the law of conservation of energy. It violates the Treaty of Olympus. It violates common sense. And yet, Robout Guilliman feels something he has not felt since he woke up in this nightmare millennium. Greater than asterisk, he feels jealous asterisk. Prepare a strike force, Guilliman orders, his voice low. I want the Victrix Guard. I want the Chief Librarian. And get me a direct line to the Grey Knights. Lord, the Grey Knights. Something has terrified the warp, Guilliman says, staring at the green spiral. I need to know if it is a savior or a destroyer that makes the Chaos Gods look like children. Location: the Plague Planet, the Garden of Nurgle. Subject: Mortarion, Demon Primarch of the Death Guard. The air is thick with flies and the sweet scent of rot. Mortarion, the Pale King, sits upon his throne of decay. He breathes in the despair of the galaxy. Suddenly he coughs, a dry, hacking cough. Not the wet, joyous cough of Nurgle's blessing. A dry, painful cough. The flowers in his garden, blooms of necrotic flesh, wither, but they do not rot. They simply die. They turn into dry, sterile dust. Mortarion stands up, his moth-eaten wings flaring. "Stagnation!" he hisses. "Someone is denying the stagnation." Narrator: Nurgle represents entropy, the slow, inevitable heat death of the universe, embraced with a chuckle. Spiral power is the exact opposite. It is negentropy. It creates energy from nothing. It forces growth where there should be decay. To Mortarion, who sold his soul to stop the pain of endurance, the existence of Simon is a personal insult. It proves that endurance was possible without submission. Location: Avaris Prime, Cathedral Square. Time: 30 minutes after the sky break. Simon is sitting on the steps again. He is eating a nutrient bar Inquisitor Valerius gave him. Valerius is sitting next to him, looking like a man who has undergone a religious crisis and is currently rebooting his entire personality. "So," Simon says, chewing, "you guys have ships that travel through hell?" "The warp," Valerius corrects, his voice shaky. "We use the warp to travel faster than light, but we need Geller fields to keep the demons out." Simon nods. "Sounds inefficient. Why not just teleport using the coordinates of where you want to be?" "Because that's impossible," Valerius snaps, old habits dying hard. "Teleportation through the warp is suicide without a beacon." "Not through the warp," Simon says, pointing at space. "Through the, the space between the space." Before Valerius can ask what in the God Emperor's name that means, the air screams. It is the sound of teleportation, but sharp, metallic, and smelling of ozone and sanctified incense. Zap, crack. 5 figures materialize in the square. They tower over the mortal humans. They wear Terminator armor of shimmering silver, engraved with wards and litanies that hurt the eyes to read. They carry Nemesis Force halberds that crackle with psychic frost. The Grey Knights. Brotherhood of Wardmakers, the chamber militant of the Ordo Malleus. Leading them is Justicar Alaric. They do not ask for identification. They do not hesitate. They see the lingering green energy around Simon, energy that their psychic hoods identify as unknown/Xenos/warp anathema. Target identified. Alaric's voice is a grinding tectonic plate. Subject possesses Omega-level energy signature, non-sanctioned. Prepare for banishment. Narrator: The Grey Knights are the ultimate weapon against the warp. Their minds are fortresses. Their souls are silver. They know the true names of demons. They expect to fight a creature of hate and lies. They are completely unprepared for a creature of simple, stupid honesty. "Wait!" Valerius stands up, throwing his arms out. "My lords, he isn't a demon. He cleared the sky." "Stand aside, Inquisitor." Alaric steps forward, the ground shaking. "The enemy takes many forms. It can mimic the light, but it cannot mimic the purity of the Emperor." Alaric raises his storm bolter. Narrator: Justicar Alaric has fought for 200 years. He has slain bloodthirsters. He calculates the engagement in nanoseconds. Analysis of target. Armor, none, civilian clothing. Weapons, none visible, mech is powered down. Stance, relaxed, open. Conclusion, the target is bait, the real threat is in the warp, waiting to emerge. Greater than asterisk action. Neutralize the bait immediately asterisk. Fire, the storm bolters roar. These are not normal bullets. These are psychically charged bolts inscribed with runes of banishment. They explode on contact with the soul, shredding the essence of the target. Simon doesn't move. He doesn't need to. Clang, clang, clang. The bolts hit an invisible wall 3 inches from Simon's face. They don't explode. They simply stop, their kinetic energy drained instantly, falling to the ground as harmless metal slugs. Alaric pauses. The other knights pause. Anti-psychic field? One knight asks over the vox. Is he a pariah? No, Alaric growls. I can feel his soul. It burns. It burns. Hot. Simon finishes his nutrient bar. He stands up and brushes crumbs off his coat. You guys have cool armor, Simon says, but you're too stiff. You're fighting like you're afraid to make a mistake. We are the hammer of the Emperor, Alaric roars. He charges. Narrator. A Grey Knight in Terminator armor can cross 20 meters in 1.2 seconds. Alaric moves like a freight train, his nemesis halberd swinging in a killing arc designed to decapitate a carnifex. Physics dictates that Simon should be cleaved in two. The mass of the halberd alone is 400 kilograms. The force field on the blade disrupts matter at a molecular level. Simon raises his left hand. He catches the blade, not the haft, the blade. His bare skin touches the molecular disruption field. Sparks fly. The stone beneath Simon's feet turns to powder from the transferred impact. A crater forms. But Simon's arm does not bend. Impossible, Alaric breathes. The psychic charge. Why aren't you burning? Simon looks Alaric in the eye lenses. Because I decided not to, Simon says. Narrator. This is the fundamental disconnect. The Grey Knights operate on the logic of resistance. They resist the warp, they resist corruption, they hold the line. Simon operates on the logic of advance. He does not resist the force, he devours it. The psychic energy of the halberd is trying to deconstruct Simon, but Simon's spiral energy is reconstructing him faster than the weapon can destroy him. The equation is simple. Asterisk, greater than. As long as Simon believes he is uncuttable, the universe is forced to reinforce his molecular bonds to match his delusion. Simon pushes, he doesn't punch. He just pushes the halberd back. Alaric, a transhuman warrior in 2 tons of tactical dreadnought armor, slides backward. His boot magnets groan and spark as they are dragged across the ferrocrete. Who are you? Alaric demands, bracing himself. I told you, Simon smiles. I'm Simon the Digger. Suddenly the reality tear happens, but it's not what the Grey Knights expect. The air behind the Grey Knights cracks. Purple lightning, the true warp, fizzles into existence. The Grey Knights spin around. Warp breach! Behind us! From the tear, a claw emerges, then a sleek, elongated limb, then a face of perfection and horror. Sholash, the sinuous. A keeper of secrets, a greater demon of Slanesh. It has been drawn not by the warp, but by the challenge. Slanesh loves obsession, and Simon's obsession with moving forward is the most delicious flavor the Dark Prince has smelled in eons. The demon towers over the square, 30 feet of lilac skin, razor claws and musk that drives mortals insane. The Grey Knights immediately switch targets. "Banished be the creature of the warp," Alaric chants, unleashing a psychic holocaust. The Keeper of Secrets laughs. It dances through the psychic fire, faster than the eye can follow. It is a creature of excess speed. Swish, snap. With a flick of its claw, it shears the Stormbolter off Alaric's arm. "So slow," Sholesh purrs. Its voice echoes in their minds. "Your Emperor is a rotting corpse. Your duty is dull, but him..." The demon points a claw at Simon. "He tastes like infinity." The demon lunges at Simon. The Grey Knights cannot intercept it. It is too fast. Narrator. The Keeper of Secrets moves at a velocity that defies friction. It is effectively teleporting through physical space. To the Grey Knights, it is a blur. To Simon, it is moving in slow motion. Simon doesn't summon Lagann. He doesn't need the robot for this. He reaches into his pocket. He pulls out a core drill, a small cone-shaped key. He holds it up like a dagger. "You guys talk too much," Simon says. The demon strikes. Simon steps into the strike. He ducks under the claw, a margin of error of 0.001 millimeters. He drives the core drill into the demon's knee. It's a small object. It shouldn't hurt a greater demon. But Simon twists it. Giga! Drill! Green light explodes from the small key. It expands into a phantom drill the size of a building. Break! The drill doesn't just pierce the demon's leg. It catches the demon's concept of speed and twists it backward. The Keeper of Secrets screams, not in pleasure, but in genuine, confused agony. Its physical form begins to unravel into ribbons of purple light. "You're in the way!" Simon shouts, uppercutting the demon with the drill. The demon is launched, not just knocked back. Launched upward, back through the cloud layer, back into orbit. Simon watches it go. "And stay out!" Silence returns to the square. Justicar Alaric stares at the boy. He looks at his severed bolter. He looks at the sky where a greater demon was just physically evicted from reality by a teenager with a glow stick. Alaric deactivates his power weapon. "Inquisitor Valerius," Alaric says, his voice flat. "Yes, Justicar?" "Contact the High Lords. Tell them we found something." Location: the Macraga's Honor. Time: 2 hours later. Robot Gilliman is reading the report from Alaric. He reads it 3 times. He sets the slate down. He looks at his guest. Belisarius Cowl. The Archmagos Dominus. "Cowl," Gilliman says. "The report says the subject generates mass from nothing, that he alters probability." Cowl's mechanical limbs twitch excitedly. "Fascinating. Theoretically, if we could harvest his genetic material, we could create a new breed of Primaris, the spiral strain. Imagine, Lord Commander, Marines who do not run out of ammunition because they simply will the magazine to be full." Gilliman sighs. "That is not how it works, Cowl. And if you try to stick a needle in him, I suspect he will drill a hole in your precious Mars." "There is another issue," Cowl chimes. "The Orks." "The Orks?" "Yes. Deep-range auspex shows the Ork Empire of Octarius is moving." "Moving where?" "Here. All of them. They are not attacking. They are racing." Cut to the Space Hulk. Kill Cruiser. Gazakul Mag Uruk Thraka, the prophet of the Wa, stands at the bridge. Green energy crackles around his power claw. But it's not just Wa energy. It's resonating with something else. "Boss!" a grot screams. "The weird boys say the green light is calling us. It ain't Gork, it ain't Mork." Guskull grins, a grin that splits his massive, scarred face. He feels it, a heartbeat across the stars, a fighting spirit that rivals Yarrick, rivals the Emperor. "It's the biggest fight," Gazkul bellows to his billion boys. "Set course for the spiral. We gonna see who can yell louder." Narrator. The interaction report predicted this. The Orks are not coming to destroy Simon. They are coming because Simon is the ultimate validation of their existence. If Simon fights with fighting spirit, then to the Orks, he is the avatar of the Wa given form. The galaxy is not falling apart, it is converging. Location: Hive City, Sanctum Tertius, Avaris Prime. Event: the arrival of the Primarch. The atmosphere of Avaris Prime has changed. It is no longer choked with smog, it is choked with anticipation. The sky, cleared by Simon's drill, now serves as a pristine backdrop for the descent of gods. They come in drop pods, they come in thunderhawks, they come in stormbirds that blot out the newly revealed sun. The heraldry of the Ultramarines, the blue and gold, the champions of Macreg, the citizens of Avaris Prime are prostrating themselves in the sludge. They are weeping. To see a space marine is a miracle. To see a Primarch is a blinding revelation that usually precedes the end of a world. Narrator. The logistical footprint of a Primarch's arrival is equivalent to the GDP of a small star system. Standard protocol dictates the deployment of 3 companies of Astartes, a localized communications blackout, and the recalibration of orbital defense grids. Reboot Guilliman does not travel light. He travels with the weight of an empire on his shoulders. Every step he takes is calculated to project stability. However, the man he is coming to meet operates on a logistics system of one. I am here. Simon is still in the market. He has finished fixing the generator. It now runs on clean, infinite spiral energy, though the vendor thinks it's just really good promethium. He is currently helping a young girl fix the wheel on her toy cart. The ground shakes, rhythmic, heavy thuds. Boom, boom, boom. The Victrix Guard, veterans with shields of adamantium, form a corridor, and then he appears. Reboot Guilliman, the avenging sun. He stands 10 feet tall in the armor of fate. The Emperor's sword, burning with psychic fire, rests at his hip. He is a monument to transhuman perfection, a being designed by a god to lead humanity. He stops 5 meters from Simon. The silence is absolute. Even the wind seems afraid to blow. Guilliman looks down. His face, noble and weary, framed by the laurel wreath, analyzes the boy. Narrator. Guilliman's brain is currently processing 4,000 distinct variables. He is analyzing Simon's bone structure, his caloric intake, the thread count of his coat, and the threat assessment of the small mole pig digging near his feet. But primarily he is analyzing the pressure. Primarchs possess a passive aura known as transhuman dread. It causes mortals to weep, freeze, or go insane with awe. Guilliman is projecting this aura at 100%. Simon looks up. He does not weep. He does not freeze. He smiles. To Simon, this is not a demigod. This is just a very big man who looks like he needs a nap. "You are the anomaly," Guilliman says. His voice is a rich baritone that resonates in the chest cavities of everyone present. "I am Reboot Guilliman, Lord Commander of the Imperium. I have come to determine if you are a threat to the survival of this species." Simon stands up. He wipes grease from his hands onto his pants. "I'm Simon. Nice armor. A bit flashy, though. Doesn't it get in the way when you need to squeeze through tight spots? The Victrix guard tense up. Insulting the Primarch's armor is a death sentence. Guilliman raises a hand to stay them. A flicker of amusement, or perhaps confusion, crosses his face. It is designed for war, Guilliman replies, and in this galaxy there are no tight spots, only fortifications to be breached. That's one way to look at it, Simon says. But if you only build for war, you forget how to build for living. Look at this place. Simon gestures to the Hive City, the crumbling Gothic architecture, the poverty, the fear. You guys are really good at surviving, Simon observes, but you're really bad at living. Guilliman's eyes narrow. This cuts deep. It strikes at the core of his own insecurity, the fear that the Imperium is a failed state, a rotting carcass he is desperately trying to galvanize. We do what we must, Guilliman says, his tone hardening. We hold back the dark. You cleared the sky, Simon, a formidable display. But can you feed 1 trillion souls? Can you organize the logistics of 1 million war fronts? Can you legislate peace across a galaxy that knows only war? Guilliman steps forward. The sheer mass of his presence pushes against Simon. Power without structure is anarchy, and anarchy feeds the dark gods. Tell me, boy, what is your plan? Do you have a codex? A doctrine? Simon scratches his head. The red sunglasses glint in the sun. Plan? Simon laughs softly. I don't really do plans like that. If I see a wall, I break it. If I see a friend in trouble, I save them. If I see someone hungry, I drill a hole until I find water. That is naive, Guilliman states coldly. The universe is complex. Simple solutions do not exist. That's where you're wrong, Simon says. Simon's expression changes. The goofy smile vanishes. In its place is the hardened gaze of a man who has stared down the anti-spiral. Complexity is just an excuse to give up. Narrator. The air pressure drops. The birds stop singing. Guilliman feels it. The dread is being pushed back, not by a stronger force, but by a sharper one. Guilliman's aura is a fortress. Simon's aura is a drill. Simon steps into the Primarch's personal space. He is 3 feet shorter. He weighs a fraction of the Primarch's armor. Yet in the psychic spectrum, they are standing eye to eye. You think about the million things that can go wrong, Simon says, pointing a finger at the Primarch's chest plate. You calculate the odds. You manage the decline. That's why you're stuck. That's why your empire is rotting. Simon taps the chest plate. Tink. You're spinning in place. You're trying to keep the drill from moving because you're scared of what happens when you break through. Guilliman is stunned, not by the physical act, but by the accusation. For 10,000 years, he has been the administrator, the man who holds it together. No one has ever told him that his caution is the problem. And what happens, Guilliman whispers, when you break through? What is on the other side? Simon grins. That's the fun part. You don't know until you get there. Location, the plaza, event, the demonstration, Guilliman signals. Show me. You speak of breaking through, but talk is cheap. This world is broken. Its people are diseased. Its machines are failing. He points to a massive walker standing guard at the plaza's edge. It is a Redemptor dreadnought, a sarcophagus on legs, housing the shattered remains of a space marine hero. This specific dreadnought is ancient, its machine spirit erratic, its pilot constantly screaming in the agony of half-life. It is a weapon of pure suffering. Brother Aetius, Guilliman says, he has served for 5 centuries. He is in constant pain. The technology to heal him was lost in the dark age of technology. We can only sustain his suffering so he may fight. Guilliman looks at Simon. If your evolution is real, fix him. Not the machine, the man. The crowd gasps. To heal a dreadnought pilot is impossible. They are barely meat and bone, fused to the chassis. Simon walks over to the towering war machine. The dreadnought twitches. Its assault cannon spins up. Pain. Only pain. The Voxcaster booms. Simon doesn't flinch. He places his hand on the cold adamantium leg. Narrator. A tech priest would attempt to soothe the machine spirit with binary canicles. An apothecary would check the nutrient feed. Simon does neither. Greater than asterisk. He listens asterisk. He sends a pulse of spiral energy into the chassis. The green light veins through the metal. It doesn't analyze the schematics. It bypasses the circuitry and connects directly to the biological remnant inside. It's dark in there, isn't it? Simon asked the machine. Let me die. No, Simon says. Dying is easy. Coming back is hard. Simon closes his eyes. The green light intensifies. It surrounds the dreadnought. Narrator. Biological restoration is a complex process. It requires biomass, telomere regeneration, and nerve reconstruction. It requires time. Greater than asterisk, Simon ignores time asterisk. He forces the cells of Brother Aetius to remember what they used to be. He injects the concept of health into a system defined by trauma. The spiral power acts as a bridge. It connects the 41st millennium to the memory of the pilot's prime. The metal groans. The sarcophagus seal, welded shut for centuries, begins to crack, not from damage but from pressure from the inside. Crack, hiss. Steam pours out. The front plate of the dreadnought falls off with a clang that echoes like a church bell. The crowd screams. The Victrix Guard raise their shields, but nothing attacks. From the smoke, a hand reaches out. It is not a withered cybernetic claw. It is a hand, with skin, with muscle. A man pulls himself out of the wreckage of the dreadnought. He is naked, gasping for air, covered in amniotic fluid. He is huge, an Astartes in his prime. His limbs are whole, his eyes are clear. Brother Aetius looks at his hands. He takes a deep breath, his first breath of real air in 500 years. He looks at Simon. He falls to his knees. He weeps. I can feel the wind, Aetius sobs. Guilliman drops his helmet. It clatters on the stones. The Primarch stares. His mouth is slightly open. This is not science. This is not psychic sorcery, which usually involves mutation. This is a miracle, a true, uncorrupted miracle. You, Guilliman stammers, you reversed entropy. Simon offers a hand to the naked space marine and pulls him up. I didn't reverse anything, Simon says, looking at Guilliman. I just reminded him that he isn't finished yet. Simon turns to the Primarch. Your empire is like that box robot. It's full of people who think they're finished. You keep them in the box to keep them safe, but they're dying in there. Simon summons his core drill. It spins on his finger. Let them out. Location. A pocket dimension adjacent to Avaris Prime. Subject. Trazen the Infinite. In the safety of a tesseract labyrinth, Trazen watches the holofeed. His mechanical fingers twitch with kleptomaniacal glee. Oh, beautiful, Trazen croons. He restored an Astartes from a Redemptor pattern. The energy signature, it's exquisite. It's not warp energy. It's narrative energy. He adjusts his monocle. I must have him. He will look perfect next to the clone Grim. Or perhaps, yes, I shall create a diorama. The boy who pierced the grimdark. I need a stasis field, a big one. He taps a command on his console. Deploy the Lich Guard, set phasers to abduct. Location, high orbit. Event. The wah! The moment between Simon and Guilliman is shattered, not by Trazen, but by the alarms on Guilliman's wrist display. Lord Commander, warp breach, massive scale. Guilliman snaps back to reality. Chaos? No, Lord, it's green, but not that kind of green. The sky of Avaris Prime, so recently cleared, suddenly turns a violent, jagged shade of lime. Clouds form, but they are not rain clouds. They are clouds of exhaust fumes. Thousands of jagged, rusty ships burst out of the warp. They are shaped like heads. They are shaped like fists. They are shaped like bad ideas welded together. The Orks. But they aren't firing. A transmission overrides every Vox caster on the planet, including Guilliman's private channel, including the loudspeakers in the market. A face appears, a massive green face with a metal jaw and an eye that burns with red laser light. Gazkul Mag Uruk Thraka. Oi, listen up! The voice is so loud it shakes the dust off the buildings. Which one of you Humies did the big drill thing? Guilliman activates his Vox. I am Robot Guilliman. You will withdraw, Xeno scum, or be obliterated. Guzkul ignores the demigod of war completely. He squints at the screen. Not you, Bluey. You're boring. I want the drill boy. Gazkul leans into the camera. I felt it. A proper roar. A roar that scared the spiky boys. I want to fight dat. Narrator. The Orks operate on the Wah field. If they believe something works, it works. Currently, Gazkul believes that Simon is the prophet of the drill. This belief is so strong that it is actively buffing Simon. Across the planet, Simon feels a sudden surge of energy. He feels rowdier. Simon looks up at the screen. He grins, a feral, competitive grin that mirrors the Orks. You want to fight? Simon shouts at the sky. I want a scrap that'll break the universe. Gazkul bellows back. Sounds good. Simon summons Lagann. The mech wraps around him. Come down here and get it. Guilliman looks between the Ork fleet and the boy and the robot. Wait, Guilliman says, realizing the tactical insanity. You are inviting the prophet of the Wah to the planet's surface? Why not? Simon revs the drill. If we beat him, he'll listen. Orks do not listen. They only kill. Everyone listens if you hit them hard enough, Simon says. That's how it works where I'm from. Here we go! Wah! Drop rocks begin to rain from the sky. Millions of Orks. Guilliman draws the Emperor's sword. He sighs. I hate this galaxy, Guilliman mutters. Then he looks at Simon. Do not die, driller. I still have questions. Try to keep up, Robot. Simon launches himself into the air. No. Location. Hive City, Sanctum Tertius, Cathedral Square. Current status. Planetary siege initiated. Local threat level. Apocalyptic. The sky over Avaris Prime is no longer blue. It is not even the gray smog of yesterday. It is a screaming, churning vortex of exhaust fumes and crude atmospheric entry burns. The Ork rocks, hollowed-out asteroids fitted with engines that defy engineering principles, rain down like meteors. They do not land, they crash. Every impact is a localized earthquake, throwing up plumes of ferrocrete dust and pulverized hab blocks. The noise is beyond deafening. It is physical pressure, the roar of millions of orcs, the daka-daka of heavy shooters, the screech of metal tearing metal. In the center of the square, Reboot Guilliman stands amidst the brewing storm. He has his helmet back on. The tactical display inside his visor is scrolling so fast it would induce seizures in a mortal man. Victrix Guard, establish a defensive perimeter around the cathedral entrances. Do not let them breach the civilian shelters. Captain Tybalt, bring the Thunderhawks around for strafing runs on the larger landing zones. We must bottle them in. Guilliman's voice is calm, precise, and utterly devoid of hope. This is not a battle to win. It is a disaster to manage. He is calculating acceptable casualty rates in the millions. Narrator. Reboot Guilliman is operating at 300% cognitive capacity. He is mentally rewriting the planetary defense grid protocols while simultaneously fighting 3 orc knobs with his power sword. He is the ultimate administrator of violence. Yet 40% of his processing power is currently dedicated to watching the red mecha bouncing around the battlefield. Simon is not holding a perimeter. He is not managing casualties. Simon is having fun. Lagann, the small red mech, is a blur. A mob of orc boys, their muscles bulging with the fungal steroids of the Wa, charge him, swinging crude axes made of rusty gears. Simon doesn't dodge back. He dodges forward. Narrator. The average orc reaction time is surprisingly fast due to their adrenaline-adjacent physiology. Yet as the leading knob swings a chain chopper aimed at Lagann's cockpit, the red mech occupies a space where the axe isn't. Let's watch the slow-motion replay. Simon does not use complex martial arts. He uses economy of motion. He tilts Lagann 15 degrees to the left, letting the axe spark harmlessly off his shoulder plating. In the same fluid motion, he extends Lagann's leg. It's a trip, a simple schoolyard trip. But when executed by a mech powered by infinite willpower against a creature weighing 2 tons, the trip becomes a kinetic event. The orc knob flips, his momentum carrying him face first into the 2 boys behind him, creating a domino effect of green flesh and scrap metal. Ha ha ha, too slow! Simon's voice rings out from the mech's external speakers. You guys swing like you're asleep. Wake up! He isn't killing them efficiently. He's brawling. He punches an orc so hard it flies into an incoming Defcopta, causing both to explode in a spectacular fireball. He uses his drills to create sudden slopes in the ground, sending orc trucks careening into walls. For the citizens of the Imperium peeking from their bunkers, it is a terrifying sight. War is supposed to be grim. It is supposed to be a desperate struggle against the dark. This boy is fighting like it's a game, and he's winning. Narrator. Crucial observation. The citizens are not praying to the God Emperor to save them. For the first time in their lives, they are watching a battle and thinking, that looks cool. This thought, however fleeting, is a more dangerous heresy than any chaos ritual. It is the seed of hope uncoupled from dogma. Location: mid-atmosphere/ground zero. Event: the awakening of Gazakul. High above the chaos, the largest rock of them all descends. It is the size of a small city, painted in loud clashing checks of black and white, adorned with a massive metal skull at the prow. The kill cruiser of Gazakul Thraka. Inside the command bridge, Gazakul is watching the feet of Simon fighting down below. The massive orc warlord is vibrating with excitement. His cybernetic claws opening and closing, snapping the air with the force of hydraulic presses. Look at him go! Gazkul roars, spitting fungus beer all over his terrified grot attendants. "He ain't scared, he's laughing. The humies never laugh when we crump 'em." Gazkul slams a fist onto a big red button labeled "The Big Jump." "I'm going down there. No one crumps the drill boy but me." The massive rock changes course. It stops aiming for a strategic landing zone and aims directly for the red dot in the cathedral square. Down below, Gilliman's tactical sensors scream. "Impact imminent," Gilliman states flatly. "Brace!" Simon looks up. He sees a mountain of burning metal falling straight at him. "All right," Simon yells, planting Lagann's feet firmly on the ferrocrete. "Let's catch the big one." Narrator. We must now pause to examine a localized metaphysical catastrophe occurring in the cathedral square of Avaris Prime. We are observing the interaction of two distinct yet horrifyingly compatible energy systems. System A, the Ork Wah, a latent psychic field generated by Orks that greases the wheels of reality. If enough Orks believe a red truck goes faster, it goes faster. It is consensus reality based on ignorance and aggression. System B, spiral power, the energy of evolution inherent in DNA, harnessed by willpower. It doesn't bend reality, it overwrites it with a superior logic based on moving forward. Currently, millions of Orks are looking at Simon. They see a small red thing fighting with impossible strength. Their collective belief is, "That thing is dead-aired. It must be the best fight ever." This belief hits Simon. Normally, warp energy would corrupt, but spiral power is highly absorptive. Simon's fighting spirit takes this massive influx of Ork belief and converts it into raw fuel. The greener the energy gets around Simon, the more excited the Orks get. The more excited the Orks get, the more energy they feed Simon. It is a resonance cascade of pure hype. The local laws of thermodynamics have packed their bags and left the system. The rock hits. It should have leveled the entire Hive City sector. It should have created a crater 3 miles deep. Crash, boom. A cloud of dust engulfs the square, blotting out the sun again. Silence, then a sound. The whirring of a drill. The dust clears. Simon in Lagann is standing there. He is holding the nose cone of the city-sized rock. He caught it. The ground beneath him is intact, though the rest of the square is a disaster zone. He didn't stop the momentum with strength. He drilled against the kinetic energy, neutralizing it by spinning in the opposite direction of the impact force. The side hatch of the rock blasts open. A figure emerges, silhouetted by the internal fires of the ship. He is 12 feet tall. He is clad in mega armor scavenged from a dozen defeated empires. His jaw is solid iron. Gazgakul Mag Uruk Thraka, the beast of Armageddon. He steps out, crushing a Lehman Russ battle tank flat with one step. He looks down at the tiny red mech holding his ship. Gazakul takes a deep breath of the spore-choked air, and then he smiles, a terrifying, joyful smile. "Right!" Gazakul says, his voice like grinding continental plates. "You caught my ride. That's a good start." Simon tosses the massive spaceship aside like an empty soda can. It crashes into a ruined manufactorum. Simon steps out of Lagann. He stands on top of the cockpit, looking up at the towering Ork warlord. "You're big," Simon says. "I'm the biggest." Gazkul agrees. "And you're the loudest humi I ever heard. The boys say you pierced the sky. Show me." Gazkul raises his power claw. It crackles with lethal green energy. Simon summons his core drill. It glows with lethal green energy. Gilliman, fighting nearby, risks a glance. Narrator. The Primarch realizes with horror that the energy signature of the Orc warlord and the energy signature of the human boy are vibrating on the exact same frequency. They are two different species from two different universes, speaking two different languages, yet they perfectly understand the universal language of punching it until it explodes. "Bring it on, big guy!" Simon yells, leaping back into Lagann. Whoa! Lagann! Impact! They charge. When they collide in the center of the square, there is no sound, because the sound is so loud it instantly ruptures the eardrums of every unhelmeted baseline human within 50 miles. A shock wave of pure green energy expands outwards, flattening the remaining buildings, knocking over Space Marines in Terminator armor, and sending thousands of smaller orcs flying into the stratosphere. In the center of the crater, the power claw and the drill are locked in a stalemate. The ground beneath them is turning into molten glass from the sheer friction of their willpower grinding together. "Good! Good!" Ghazghkull roars, pushing harder, his hydraulics screaming. "More! Give me more!" "You want more?" Simon gritted his teeth, fighting the immense pressure of the Orc's strength. "Then let's go." To the next level. Location: the Pocket Dimension Tesseract. Subject: Trazyn the Infinite. Trazyn is practically vibrating with excitement. The readings on his scanners are off the charts. The collision between Simon and Ghazghkull is creating a temporal anomaly. Reality is thinning around them. "It's beautiful," Trazyn whispers. "The raw emotional output. If I can capture them at this exact moment of collision, it will be the centerpiece of the trans-reality conflict wing." He looks at his collection. Stasis pods lined up in infinite rows. He needs a distraction, something to weaken them just enough so his Tesseract labyrinths can hold them. His eyes fall upon a specific stasis vault, one labeled Tyranid Hive Fleet Kraken, Splinter Swarm Alpha. A little dash of extra chaos, Trazyn muses, his skeletal fingers hovering over the release rune. Just to spice the narrative up. He presses the button. Location: Cathedral Square, Ground Zero. Simon and Ghazghkull are locked in combat. They are trading blows that would shatter mountains. Simon is using the drill to parry the massive claw. Ghazghkull is using his iron head to headbutt the mech. They are laughing like maniacs. Suddenly, the ground beneath them erupts. But it's not orcs. It's not Imperial reinforcements. Chitinous plating, razor-sharp claws, screeching, alien hunger. Tyranids. Genestealers and Gaunts pour out of a sudden reality breach, straight into the middle of the duel. Guilliman, seeing this new threat, feels a migraine that would kill a lesser being. Tyranids? Now? How? Ghazghkull stops punching Simon. He looks down at a Genestealer trying to chew through his ankle armor. He stomps it flat. Bugs? Ghazghkull looks insulted. Who invited the bugs to my fight? Simon spins Lagann around, drilling through 3 Gaunts instantly. These guys are ugly. They don't look like they want to talk. The 3-way fight has become a 4-way fight. Ghazghkull looks at Simon. Oi, drill boy! Ghazghkull shouts over the screeching horde. ESE bugs are ruining the mood. Want to smash 'em first, and we finished us? Simon grins, his spiral energy flaring up again, burning away the Tyranid ichor splashing on his mech. Team up? Simon laughs. All right, let's clear the field. Narrator. And so, the strangest alliance in the history of the 41st millennium was formed in 0.4 seconds. The prophet of the Wa and the wielder of spiral power turned back to back against the great devourer. Somewhere in the warp, Khorne, the god of war, stopped watching the bloodbath to grab a bucket of popcorn. This was getting interesting. Location: Cathedral Square, Ground Zero. Current status: biological cleanup in progress. The square has become a blender. On one side, the endless, screeching tide of the Tyrannid swarm. They are the perfect biological organism, evolved for efficiency, stripping biomass, and silence. On the other side, the loudest alliance in history. Ghazghkull Thraka does not fight like a martial artist. He fights like a natural disaster. He grabs a Tyrannid Carnifex, a beast the size of a tank, by the tail. He swings it like a wet towel, smashing it into a cluster of Genestealers. Stomp 'em! Squash 'em! Make 'em into jam! Simultaneously, Simon is weaving through the chaos. Lagann is small, agile. He zips under Ghazghkull's swinging arms, drilling through the enemies the orc misses. Narrator. Synergy analysis. Usually an orc warlord and a human pilot would impede each other. Their combat rhythms are incompatible. Orcs are 4/4 heavy metal time signatures. Simon is high-speed Eurobeat. However, they share a single, unifying variable: forward momentum. When Ghazghkull steps forward, he creates a vacuum. Simon fills that vacuum with a drill. When Simon knocks an enemy into the air, Ghazghkull catches it and rips it in half. It is not tactical coordination, it is jazz. Violent, green jazz. "Hey, big guy!" Simon shouts, his cockpit canopy open as he punches a lictor in the face. "Throw me!" Ghazghkull pauses, holding a screeching warrior in his claw. He looks at the tiny red mech. Throw ya!" "Yeah, at the big one." Simon points to a hive tyrant that has just emerged from the breach, screeching orders to the swarm. Ghazghkull grins. He drops the warrior and crushes its head with his boot. "I like your style, runt! Get into claw!" Simon deactivates Lagann's legs and retracts them. Ghazghkull grabs the entire mech in his massive power claw. The Wa energy surges. The spiral energy surges. The green light becomes blinding. It shifts from the dirty diesel fume green of the orcs to the neon, star-stuffed green of the spiral. They are mixing. Fastball special. WAG edition. Ghazghkull hurls Lagann. Narrator. Physics update. The mass of Lagann is approximately 500 kilograms. The throwing force of Ghazghkull Thraka, amplified by the Wa, is equivalent to a railgun launch. Lagann breaks the sound barrier instantly. Then it breaks the thermal barrier. The Hive Tyrant raises its bone swords to block. It has reflex enhancements that allow it to parry bolts. But it cannot parry a projectile that is actively drilling through the air resistance. Giga! Drill! Break! Simon hits the Hive Tyrant. There is no resistance. The bone swords shatter. The chitin armor evaporates. The tyrant is not just killed, it is drilled into a fine mist of biological paste in 0.02 seconds. Simon lands behind the exploding corpse, skidding to a halt. "Nice throw!" Simon gives a thumbs up. "Nice splat!" Ghazghkull laughs, firing his shooter into the air in celebration. In location, overlooking the square. Subject, Trazyn the Infinite. Trazyn's size, he taps his metallic fingers on the dimensional control seal. Well, that failed. The Tyrannids are barely a speed bump. Their friendship power, disgusting term, is spiking their energy output to uncontainable levels. He stands up, grabbing his empathic obliterator staff. "If you want something done right, you have to do it yourself. or at least use the premium collection items. Trazyn steps onto his command barge. He floats down from the sky, decloaking. The air suddenly turns cold. The raw, hot heat of the Ork/spiral energy is sucked away by a chilling, tomb-like dampness. Green lightning arcs across the square, but it is the sick, pale green of the Necrons. From the shadows, metallic skeletons emerge. Lich Guard. Immortals. They do not scream. They do not charge. They march in perfect, silent unison. And floating above them, the Archaeovist of the Solemnes Galleries. Gentlemen, Trazyn's voice is projected directly into their minds, bypassing ears. Excellent performance. Truly. The camaraderie. The violence. It was very moving. Guilliman, who was busy decapitating the last Genestealer, freezes. He looks up. Necrons, Guilliman hisses. Trazyn. Lord Guilliman, Trazyn bows mockingly. You look tired. I have a stasis pod that would do wonders for your complexion. Mint condition, right next to your brother Fulgrim's clone. Gazikal squints at the floating metal skeleton. Who's D.A. Shiny Skelly? He looks breakable. I am Trazyn the Infinite, the Necron introduces himself. And you, noble savage, are coming with me. Your exhibit is ready. The Beast of Armageddon, post-resurrection. Trazyn raises a small cube-shaped device, a tesseract labyrinth. And you, Trazyn looks at Simon, you are the prize. A human who defies the Citan? I shall study you for eons. He throws the cube. It's not a weapon you can dodge. It expands instantly, trapping Simon and Lagann in a pocket dimension of folded space. 1 second, Simon is standing there. The next, he is gone. Simon, Guilliman shouts, stepping forward. Ah, Trazyn wags a finger. Do not interfere, Primarch, or I shall unleash the Krork I have in storage, and nobody wants that. Trazyn catches the cube as it shrinks back down. He holds it up to the light. Inside, tiny and frozen, is Simon in his mech. Perfect, Trazyn gloats. Now for the Ork. Crack. A sound comes from the cube. Trazyn pauses. He brings the cube closer to his ocular sensors. Did that cube just chip? Crack. Green light, bright neon green, starts leaking from the seams of the dimension trap. Impossible, Trazyn calculates. That creates a pocket reality detached from time. There is no force inside to push out. Who the hell? A voice comes from the cube, tiny but growing louder. Do you think we are? Shatter. The Tesseract labyrinth doesn't just open, it explodes. The laws of dimensional physics are violently violated. A massive drill bursts out of the tiny cube, growing to full size instantly. Simon bursts back into reality, Lagann glowing with so much power that the nearby Necron warriors instantly malfunction and shut down. Narrator. Trazyn's logic banks are throwing error codes. The Tesseract labyrinth is inescapable because inside it, space is infinite. To reach the edge, one must travel an infinite distance. Simon escaped. This implies one of two things. 1. The device malfunctioned. 2. Simon traveled an infinite distance in 3 seconds. Given the spiral energy readings, the universe has terrifyingly accepted option 2. Simon hovers in front of Trazyn. The drill on Lagann's forehead is spinning ominously. You tried to put me in a box, Simon says. His voice is calm, but terrifyingly deep. I told the blue guy already. I don't like boxes. Trazyn backs up. For the first time in millennia, he feels a twitch of legitimate fear. Now, Trazen stammers, trying to maintain composure. Let us be reasonable. I can offer you trade? I have a mint condition Adeptus Custodes, a pre-heresy bolter. Simon raises his fist. I don't want your toys. I want you to apologize to the big guy for interrupting our fight. Simon points at Gazakul. Gazakul, who was confused by the magic trick, suddenly beams with pride. Yeah, apologize to the prophet, skelly man. Trazen looks at the orc. He looks at the boy. He looks at Guilliman, who is just standing there shaking his head, realizing that sanity has left the building. I withdraw, Trazen says. This exhibit is too volatile. Good day. Trazen activates his translocation protocols. He vanishes in a flash of green light, fleeing before he gets drilled into scrap metal. The Necron warriors, leaderless, collapse into piles of junk. Location: Cathedral Square. Status: quiet, relatively. The dust settles. The Tyranids are dead. The Necrons have fled. It is just Simon, Gazakul, and Guilliman standing in the ruins. Gazakul looks at Simon. The orc seems satisfied. The massive Wa energy is fading, but the respect remains. You're all right, drill boy. Gazakul grunts, patting Lagann on the head hard enough to dent the armor. The bugs and the skellies ruined to scrap, but you got guts. You too, Simon hops out of the mech. You're strong, but you rely too much on just smashing. You gotta spin sometimes. I'll think about it. Gazakul turns to his surviving boys. All right, lads, pack it up. We going to Octarius. I gotta try to throw and move on a squigget. Gazakul looks at Guilliman. See you later, Bluey. Try not to die before I come back. With that, the orcs, bafflingly, impossibly, begin to retreat. They aren't retreating because they lost. They are retreating because the vibe of the fight was ruined by interlopers, and Gazakul wants to save the rematch for a better day. The orc ships blast off, leaving a trail of black smoke. Guilliman stands alone with Simon. The Primarch sheathes his sword. He looks at the destruction. He looks at the healed dreadnought pilot who is currently wrapping himself in a banner. He looks at the clear sky. You let the Xenos warlord go, Guilliman says. It is not an accusation, just a statement. He wasn't going to listen today, Simon says, watching the ships leave. But next time, maybe he will. We planted a seed. Guilliman takes off his helmet. He looks exhausted. Simon, Guilliman says, you have broken every law of the Imperium today. You consorted with Xenos. You used unsanctioned technology. You defied an Inquisitor. Simon looks up at the Primarch. Are you going to arrest me? Guilliman looks at the sun. He feels the warmth on his face. He thinks about the complexity is an excuse to give up line. No, Guilliman says softly. I am going to ask for your help. Guilliman kneels, a Primarch kneeling to a mortal. My father, the Emperor. He is sitting on a golden throne on Terra. He is dying. He has been dying for 10,000 years. His empire is a box, Simon, a box of fear and decay. Guilliman looks Simon in the eyes. You said you break boxes. Can you break that one? Narrator. The question hangs in the air. To save the Emperor is to change the galaxy fundamentally. It would end the stagnation. It would trigger a war with the chaos gods that would burn the stars. Simon smiles. It is the smile of a man who sees a path where everyone else sees a wall. Terra, huh? Simon adjusts his red sunglasses. Is it far? It is across the galaxy, Guilliman says, through storms and madness. Simon climbs onto Lagann's shoulder. He points a finger at the sky. Then that's the way we're going. Done. Location: the Macraga's Honor, flagship of the Ultramarines. Status: in transit to the Mandeville Point. Time: 48 hours after the Avaris event. The Macraga's Honor is a city in space. It is 26 kilometers of adamantium, Gothic cathedrals, and weapon batteries capable of cracking continents. It houses a crew of tens of thousands, most of whom are currently terrified because the drill boy is walking freely on the command deck. Simon stands at the massive observation bay, looking out at the stars. He is wearing a new outfit. His old coat was shredded, so the ship's artificers made him a new one. It is ultramarine blue, but with the Team Die Guren logo hand-painted in red on the back. Simon insisted on painting it himself. Reboot Guilliman stands beside him. The Primarch is not wearing his armor. He wears simple robes of state. He looks smaller, more human, but the weight of the galaxy still sits on his shoulders. "We are approaching the jump point," Guilliman says, looking at the tactical hololith. "To reach Terra, we must traverse the Great Rift, the Cicatrix Maledicta. It is a wound in reality that splits the galaxy in half." "A wound?" Simon asks. "So we just stitch it up?" Guilliman sighs. He is getting used to Simon's impossible metaphors. "It is not flesh, Simon. It is a tear in the dimensional fabric where the immaterium leaks into the materium. Demons, madness, laws of physics that change on a whim. We must activate the Geller fields. They create a bubble of reality around the ship. If the bubble fails, we are consumed." Simon looks at the Geller field generator, a massive humming machine that smells of ozone and incense. He frowns. "So, we're going to travel through a storm by hiding in a bubble? It is the only way to survive." "That sounds boring," Simon says. He turns to the window. "If the storm is in the way, why don't we just push it aside?" Narrator. Robot Guilliman attempts to explain the concept of infinite psychic volume to Simon. He attempts to explain that the warp is not a weather system, but a malevolent consciousness composed of the emotional excrement of every sentient being to ever live. Simon listens. His brain processes the information. He categorizes the chaos gods not as eldritch horrors, but as bullies who live in the basement. To Simon, the solution is not to hide from the bullies. It is to go downstairs and turn on the lights. "Engage the drive," Guilliman orders the shipmaster. "Geller fields to maximum." The ship shudders. Reality tears open. The Macraga's Honor plunges into hell. Location: the Immaterium, the warp. Domain: the crystal labyrinth of Tzeentch. The warp is usually a chaotic swirl of purple and violet, but today, around the Macraga's Honor, it is calm. Too calm. High within the great game, a being watches. He has skin of ruby red, horns of ivory, and a single eye that sees the past, present, and future simultaneously. Magnus the Red. The demon Primarch of the Thousand Suns, the Lord of Sorcery. He floats in the currents of the warp, observing the intruder. "Fascinating," Magnus murmurs. His voice is the sound of turning pages in a book made of skin. It is not psychic energy. It has no connection to the great ocean. It is stubbornness. Pure, crystallized stubbornness. A multicolored bird, a lord of change, screeches beside him. The changer of ways is displeased. The green light creates order. Order is stagnation. Stagnation is death. "No," Magnus corrects. "Order is only stagnation if it does not move. This energy, it moves constantly. It is a spiral. It loops, but it ascends." Magnus raises his staff. The tip glows with the fire of 1,000 dead suns. Let us see if his evolution can withstand the rewriting of his history. Let us see if he can drill through a paradox. Location: inside the Macraga's Honor, warp transit. Status: Geller field integrity, 98%, 40%. Error: the alarm klaxons do not sound like sirens. They sound like screaming choirs. Field fluctuation! The navigator screams from his blister. I can't see the light. The Astronomicon is gone. The stars are changing. Guilliman rushes to the center of the bridge. Stabilize the field. Repel borders. But there are no borders. The walls of the ship begin to melt, not into slag, but into memories. Narrator: This is not a physical assault. This is a narrative assault. Magnus the Red is not attacking the ship's hull. He is attacking the ship's timeline. He is inserting what-if scenarios directly into the minds of the crew. Ensign Vorn sees a reality where he never enlisted. He is happy. He has a farm. Chapter Master Calgar sees a reality where he saved his homeworld without losing his limbs. And rowboat Guilliman freezes. The bridge of the ship dissolves. He is no longer on the Macraga's Honor. He is on the sands of Monarchia, the burning city. But it isn't burning. Lorgar, his brother, stands there. He is smiling. He is loyal. Horus stands beside him. He is not the arch-traitor. He is the war master of a victorious, peaceful Imperium. The Emperor walks towards them. He is not a corpse. He is a father. Robote, the Emperor says, opening his arms. You did well. The crusade is over. We have won. Guilliman falls to his knees. Tears stream down his face. This is everything he wants. This is the timeline where he wasn't too late, where he didn't fail. Father, Guilliman whispers, is this real? It can be, the Emperor says. Just accept it. Stop fighting. Put down the sword, Robout. Rest. The temptation is absolute. The weary administrator, the man who has held the line for 10,000 years of misery, is being offered a pillow, then a noise. Whir. A buzzing sound. Annoying. Persistent. Like a fly in a cathedral. Guilliman looks up. In the perfect blue sky of this fake memory, a crack appears. A green crack. Hey, Robauta! The voice is muffled, as if coming from underwater. Wake up, your dad doesn't talk like that. The Emperor's face flickers. He looks annoyed. Ignore the noise, my son. Sleep. Guilliman hesitates. The dream is so warm. The reality is so cold. But the crack widens. A drill tip pokes through the sky. Simplicity, Guilliman mutters. He remembers the boy in the market. Complexity is just an excuse to give up. You, Guilliman looks at the fake Emperor, you are offering me a perfect past. Guilliman stands up. His eyes harden. But I have work to do in the future. Guilliman draws his sword, not the physical sword, but the sword of his will. And my father never told me to rest. Shatter. The sky breaks. The illusion of Monarchia falls away like glass shards. Simon is standing there. He isn't in a mech. He is just standing on the bridge of the ship, holding a core drill that is glowing so bright it hurts to look at. The bridge is back, but standing at the far end of the deck is not a crew member. It is a giant. Red skin, one eye, wings of imperial flame. Magnus the Red. He has physically manifested on the bridge. Disappointing, Magnus says, his voice vibrating the ship's bulkheads. You chose a broken reality over a perfect dream, brother. Magnus, Guilliman growls, stepping forward. And you, Magnus looks at Simon. The anomaly. You broke my spell. How? It was woven from the threads of causality itself. Simon spins the drill on his finger. I don't know what causality is, Simon says, but if you try to trap my friend in a fake world, I'm gonna break it. That's how we do it. Location: the Bridge of the Macraga's Honor. Matchup: Magnus the Red versus Simon the Digger. Magnus floats a foot off the deck. The air around him ripples with equations, runes, and geometry that hurts the human eye. You are crude, Magnus states. You use brute force. I use the fundamental language of the universe. Magnus flicks a wrist. Bolt of change. A beam of warp fire shoots at Simon. This fire does not burn, it mutates. Anything it touches turns into glass, or tentacles, or liquid thought. Narrator: Magnus's attack is a rewriting of biological code. It instructs Simon's atoms to stop being carbon and start being screaming helium. Simon raises his hand. He does not block. He parries. He slaps the bolt of magic away with the back of his hand. The magic hits the wall and turns a steel bulkhead into a bouquet of flowers. What? Magnus blinks. You deflected change? It felt sticky, Simon says, wiping his hand on his coat. Don't throw gross stuff at me. It is not stuff. It is the primordial power of the warp. Magnus is losing his composure. He is a creature of intellect, and Simon's stupidity is a hard counter. Magnus raises both hands. The ship begins to shrink, or rather Magnus grows. He becomes a titan, his head scraping the ceiling of the cathedral-like bridge. I will unmake you. I will scatter your atoms across time. Magnus begins to chant a ritual of unmaking. A black hole begins to form in his palm. Guilliman struggles to stand. The psychic pressure is crushing the crew. Simon! He is gathering too much power. He will collapse the Geller field from the inside. Simon sighs. He reaches into his pocket. Lagann isn't here right now, Simon says. Lagann is currently in the hangar bay. So I guess I have to do this the old-fashioned way. Simon takes a stance, feet wide, right fist pulled back. The green energy begins to gather around his fist. It spirals. It screams. System instruction, capability integration. Narrator: Simon does not cast a spell. He does not use a technique derived from ancient scrolls. He simply decides that his fist is stronger than a black hole. Magnus calculates the event horizon. He calculates the Hawking radiation. He determines that physically, Simon cannot survive. Simon ignores the calculation. Timeline. Magnus throws the black hole. Breaker! Simon punches. He doesn't punch the air. He punches the magic. Crack. His fist meets the singularity. Physics demands Simon's arm be sucked in. Spiral power demands the singularity apologize and leave. The green light corkscrews into the black hole. The black hole spins faster, and then it reverses direction. The black hole turns green. It implodes, then explodes outwards in a shockwave of pure, non-corrupting light. Magnus is thrown backward. His concentration breaks. He shrinks back to normal size, slamming into the tactical table. Impossible, Magnus gasps, clutching his chest. You punched a hole in the mathematics. Simon walks up to the demon Primarch. He looks down at the Lord of Sorcery. You're overthinking it, Simon says. You're trying to control everything. The past, the future. You're juggling too many balls, Red. Simon offers a hand to help the demon up. Magnus stares at the hand. It is an act of such profound innocence that it physically burns him. You, Magnus looks at Guilliman. Rowboat, what have you found? I found a way forward, Guilliman says, his sword drawn now. Leave my ship, Magnus, or I will let him hit you again. Magnus looks at Simon's fist, which is still smoking with green lightning. He looks at the Geller field, which is now stabilizing because Simon's presence is acting as a natural anchor. This is not over, Magnus hisses. Tzeentch has seen you now. The great game has changed. Magnus dissolves into a flock of ravens and vanishes through the bulkhead. Location, the bridge. Status. Post-encounter, the crew slowly picks themselves up. The bridge is a mess of flowers, where the bulkhead was, and psychic residue. Guilliman walks over to Simon. You saved us, Guilliman says, and you saved me from myself. You look like you were having a bad dream, Simon says. I just woke you up. Guilliman looks out the viewport. The warp storm outside is still raging, but there is a path now, a tunnel of calm space, trailing behind the Macraga's honor like a wake. Simon, Guilliman says, the warp, it reacted to you. Magnus was afraid, not of your power, but of your nature. He was thinking too hard, Simon repeats. He needs a hobby, maybe digging. Guilliman almost smiles, a rare expression. We are clearing the Great Rift, Guilliman announces to the crew. Set course for Holy Terra and send a message ahead. What message, Lord? The Vox officer asks. Guilliman looks at Simon, who is busy admiring the flowers growing out of the metal wall. Tell the custodes, Guilliman says. Tell them we are bringing a drill. Location, the Sol system, peripheral defense perimeter, Pluto. Status, high alert. Time, T-4 hours to terrafall. The Macraga's honor drops out of the warp at the Mandeville Point. It is not alone. It is instantly painted by the targeting cogitators of 10,000 warships. This is the Sol system, the Holy of Holies, the Throne World. It is the most fortified coordinate in the material universe. Every asteroid has been hollowed out into a lance battery. Every moon is a listening post. The void between planets is choked with mines, void shields, and the silent, drifting hulks of the Battlefleet Solar. Narrator. To an invader, the Sol system does not look like a home. It looks like a mouth filled with serrated teeth. The density of firepower directed at the Macraga's honor is sufficient to vaporize a moon. Even with the identification codes of a Primarch, the automated defenses hesitate for 0.3 seconds, a lifetime in naval combat, before recognizing the authority of the avenging sun. Simon stands on the bridge. He presses his face against the armagla. So many ships, Simon whispers. They're all pointing outwards. They are looking for enemies, Guilliman says, standing beside him. We have many. If you spend all your time looking for enemies, Simon says, his breath fogging the glass, you forget to look at the view. He points past the grim armada to the small blue and white marble floating in the distance. Holy Terra. It doesn't look like the Earth Simon knows. It is brown, gray, and gold. The oceans boiled away millennia ago. The clouds are smog. The cities are continents, and orbiting it. Luna. The moon. Simon tilts his head. He adjusts his red sunglasses. Hey, Robout, Simon says. Is it just me, or does that moon look like it's frowning? Guilliman blinks. Luna is a fortress. It houses the gene labs of the Selenar. It has no facial features. I don't know. Simon squints. It feels like it's waiting for something to wake it up. Narrator. Dramatic irony. Simon is referencing the Cathedral Terra from his own universe, which was actually a massive battleship disguised as a moon. While Luna is physically a rock, Simon's intuition picks up on the latent potential of celestial bodies. Luna is currently just a rock, but in Simon's presence, the rock feels a strange urge to become a face. Suddenly, the Voxcaster screams. Unidentified energy signature detected aboard flagship. Halt immediately. Prepare for boarding and inspection. Guilliman activates the comms. This is Primarch Robout Guilliman. I am returning to Terra. I have urgent business with the Emperor. Negative. Lord Guilliman, your genetic code is verified. However, the entity beside you registers as a Class Omega warp anomaly. Protocol dictates immediate containment. A golden ship drifts into view. It is sleeker than the blocky Imperial vessels. It moves with the grace of a predatory bird. The Heteron Guard, the ships of the Adeptus Custodes. They are the 10,000, Guilliman warned Simon. They answer only to the Emperor. Not even to me. They do not trust easily. They sound stubborn, Simon grins. I like stubborn guys. Location. Low orbit over Terra. The Macraga's Honor, Hangar Bay. Event. The inspection. The boarding craft lands. It is a work of art. Gold filigree, eagle motifs, engines that hum with perfect harmony. The ramp descends. 5 figures walk out. They are giants, taller than space marines. Their armor is auramite, pure gold that is harder than diamond. They wield guardian spears, weapons that are both bolters and power blades. Leading them is Captain General Trajan Valoris, the deadliest warrior in the Imperium. He stops 10 meters from Guilliman and Simon. His helmet is off. His face is a mask of stone-cold duty. Lord Guilliman, Valoris nods slightly, a gesture of respect, not submission. Then his eyes slide to Simon. Valoris doesn't blink. He doesn't flinch. His hand tightens on the haft of his watcher's axe. This is the anomaly, Valoris states. The reports from Avaris Prime claim he generates mass from nothing. The reports from the Grey Knights claim he banished a greater demon with a digging implement. He is an ally, Trajan, Guilliman says, stepping between them. He saved the ship from Magnus the Red. Magnus is a deceiver, Valoris counters. This boy could be a construct of Sinch, a sleeper agent designed to activate the moment he enters the Sanctum Imperialis. Valoris points his axe at Simon. He does not set foot on Terra. He will be placed in a Null Maiden cell on Luna for indefinite study. Simon steps out from behind Guilliman. He looks at the Golden Giant. You guys are really shiny, Simon says. Valoris narrows his eyes. Silence, creature. Your psychological tricks will not work on a custodian. I'm not doing tricks, Simon says, walking forward. The other 4 custodes lower their spears, leveling the bolters at Simon's chest. Stop, Valoris commands. One more step constitutes an act of war against the throne. Simon takes a step. Narrator. The reaction time of a custodian is measured in microseconds. Before a normal human's neuron can fire the signal to blink, a custodian can analyze a threat, formulate a killing blow, and execute it ***. The 4 custodes fire. These are not standard bolts. They are mass reactive shells with diamantine tips designed to penetrate power armor. Simon does not summon Lagann. There is no time. He does not dodge. There is no space. He spins. He spins his body 360 degrees. As he spins, Green light arcs from his coat. Clink, 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 clink. The 4 bolts are not deflected. They are caught in the centrifugal force of Simon's rotation. They orbit him for a split second, then lose momentum and drop to the floor. Simon stops spinning. He is holding his hand out. "You're protecting him," Simon says to Valoris. "That's why you're so tense. You're scared he's going to die." Valoris moves. It is a blur of gold. The Watcher's axe swings, a weapon that has ended bloodlines and shattered warlords. Simon brings up his arm. A small handheld drill materializes in his grip. Clang. The axe meets the drill. The shockwave blows out the windows of the hangar bay. The vacuum of space tries to suck them out. The void shields flicker. Valoris is pushing with the strength of a demigod. His muscles are straining against the Oromite. Simon is standing on one leg, leaning into the drill. "I know that feeling," Simon says, gritting his teeth. "Wanting to keep someone safe so bad you lock them away. I did it to my friends once. I thought I was protecting them." The green light from the drill begins to crawl up the golden axe. "But you're not protecting him, Goldie." Simon looks Valoris in the eye. "You're burying him." Narrator. Trajan Valoris is a being of absolute logic and duty. He does not feel guilt. Yet at this moment, the spiral energy resonates with a deep, suppressed truth within the Captain General. The Emperor is suffering. For 10,000 years, the custodes have watched him rot, powerless to stop it, only able to delay the end. Simon's words bypass the indoctrination. They hit the grief. Valoris feels the axe vibrating. The boy isn't pushing him back with strength. He is pushing him back with truth. "If I let you pass," Valoris whispers, the strain visible in his neck, "and you are a traitor, humanity dies." "If you don't let me pass," Simon counters, "humanity is already dead. You just haven't admitted it yet." Simon twists the drill. "Let me show you." A pulse of green light explodes. It doesn't hurt Valoris. It passes through him. For a second, Valoris sees it. A vision. Not a warp vision, but a possibility. He sees the Golden Throne. He sees the Corpse Emperor. And he sees the corpse smiling. Valoris stumbles back. He lowers the axe. He is breathing heavily, something a custodian almost never does. The other custodes look to their leader, ready to strike. "Stand down," Valoris commands. His voice is hoarse. "Captain General? He is not of the warp," Valoris says, looking at his axe, which now glows faintly with residual green energy. "The warp takes. This power gives." Valoris looks at Guilliman. "Lord Primarch, you play a dangerous game." "I know," Guilliman nods. Valoris turns to Simon. "The Sanctum Imperialis is shielded by wards that burn the soul of any who are unworthy. If you are false, you will turn to ash before you reach the Eternity Gate." Simon puts the drill away. "I'm not worried." Valoris turns and walks back to the ramp. "Follow us. We will escort you to the surface. But be warned, drill boy. If you make a sudden move near the throne, I will not hesitate again." Simon smiles. "Fair enough." Location: Holy Terra, the Imperial Palace. Event: the descent. They take a Stormbird down. As they descend through the clouds, Simon sees the reality of Terra. It is a city that covers the entire planet, spire upon spire, cathedrals built on top of factories, built on top of slums. The air is brown. The oceans are just vast reservoirs of recycled water. But what strikes Simon is the people. Billions of them. Trillions. They are lined up in queues that stretch for hundreds of kilometers. Pilgrims, waiting for a chance to enter the palace precincts, waiting for a chance to die on holy ground. Narrator. The population density of Terra is a mathematical atrocity. A single hab block contains more people than Simon's entire home planet. They live on nutrient paste and prayer. They do not look up. To look up is to see the smog. To look down is to see the abyss. So they look forward at the back of the pilgrim in front of them, shuffling one step closer to a salvation that will never come. Simon presses his hand against the window of the transport. He feels the weight. It is heavier than the 100-gram gravity of a super-dense world. It is the gravity of despair. "They're all waiting," Simon says quietly. "What are they waiting for?" "For him," Gilliman says, looking out the window with profound sadness. "They believe that if they get close enough to the palace, he will hear their prayers." "Does he?" "He hears them," Valoris answers from the cockpit. "He hears every scream. That is why he screams back." The Stormbird lands at the Lion's Gate spaceport. The scale of the Imperial Palace is impossible to convey. It is a continent-sized fortress. The walls touch the stratosphere. The Titans guarding the gates look like toys. Simon walks out. The air smells of old incense, burning ozone, and dust. A procession is waiting. Sisters of Silence, warriors with no souls, tech priests of Mars, high lords of Terra. They all stare at the boy in the blue coat. "The anomaly," whispers a High Lord, "the one who broke the sky." Simon ignores them. He looks at the massive gate ahead, the Eternity Gate. It is made of gold and adamantium. It is closed. "Open it," Gilliman orders. The gears grind. It takes 10 minutes for the doors to open. Beyond lies the inner palace, the Sanctum Imperialis. The air gets hotter. The psychic pressure increases. It feels like walking into a nuclear reactor core that is also a haunted house. "Simon," Gilliman says, stopping before the final threshold. "Beyond this point, the Emperor's psychic presence is absolute. It can flay the mind of a space marine. Are you ready?" Simon adjusts his collar. He taps the chest of his coat where the core drill rests. "I've been to the edge of the universe, Robout," Simon says. "I've fought guys who throw galaxies like shurikens. A loud room doesn't scare me." He steps through. Part 23, The Sun in the Chair. Location, the throne room. Subject, the Emperor of Mankind / Simon the Digger. The room is vast. It is filled with machinery, massive pipes, cables thick as tree trunks, banks of cogitators screaming binary. In the center, atop a mountain of golden machinery, sits the golden throne, and upon it, the Emperor. He is a corpse, a skeletal figure, jaw locked in a silent scream, missing an eye, skin like dry parchment. But to the soul, he is not a corpse. He is a blinding, roaring star, a hurricane of psychic fire. He is holding a portal closed, a portal beneath the throne that leads directly to the hell of the warp. He is fighting 4 gods simultaneously, forever. Narrator. The moment Simon enters the room, the sensory overload hits. It is not sound. It is pure information. It is the agony of a father watching his children eat each other for 10,000 years. Custodes stand guard, their spears motionless for centuries. They weep silently behind their helms, their tears evaporating instantly in the psychic heat. Gilliman falls to one knee. The pressure is too much even for a Primarch. Valoris bows his head, bracing against the wind of souls. Simon stands. Simon takes a step. The floor cracks. The psychic wind hits him. It tries to push him back. It screams, "Go away! You cannot be here! You are not of this design!" Simon leans forward. His coat flaps violently in the psychic gale. "You're loud!" Simon shouts over the psychic roar. "You're really loud!" He takes another step. The machinery of the throne begins to spark. The tech priests tending the engine recoil in horror. The time remaining clock on the throne begins to fluctuate. Warning, temporal instability. Warning, external willpower detected. Simon reaches the base of the dais. He looks up at the skeleton. To anyone else, it is a monster. To Simon, he sees a man stuck in a hole, a man digging and digging, trying to hold up the ceiling so the people below don't get crushed. "You're tired, aren't you?" Simon says softly. The words cut through the psychic storm. The Emperor's single eye seems to twitch. Narrator. Deep within the shattered fragments of the Emperor's psyche, a new variable enters. For millennia, the Emperor has calculated the Golden Path, a series of probabilities to save humanity. Every path ends in ruin, delay, or compromise. Now he sees a variable that is not a probability. It is a drill. A drill does not follow the path, it creates one. "My name is Simon," the boy says, climbing the steps of the Golden Throne. The custodes tense, but Valoris holds up a hand. "Let him." Simon reaches the top. He stands face to face with the corpse Emperor. The psychic fire is stripping the paint off the walls. Simon's skin is glowing bright green, shielding him. "You built this whole empire to protect them," Simon says, looking at the skeletal face. "But you forgot the most important part." Simon pulls out his core drill. It isn't a weapon now. It's a key. "You forgot to trust them to protect themselves." Simon raises the drill. "Robauta!" Simon yells down to the Primarch. "Cover your eyes, this is gonna be bright." "What are you doing?" Gilliman screams, shielding his face. "I'm jump-starting the engine." Simon jams the core drill into the side of the Golden Throne, into a slot that doesn't exist, but should exist. Giga, drill, reboot. Simon turns the key. Click. The sound is small. The reaction is infinite. The Golden Throne stops humming. The psychic screaming stops. For 1 second, there is absolute silence on Terra. Then the green light explodes. It rushes through the cables. It rushes through the Astronomicon. It rushes through the Webway Gate. It hits the Emperor. The withered flesh begins to glow, not with the cold gold of the Imperium, but with the warm, vibrant green of life. The skeleton takes a breath. Ha! It is a rasping, dusty breath, but it is a breath. The psychic storm doesn't vanish. It stabilizes. It transforms from a chaotic scream into a steady, rhythmic pulse, a heartbeat. Thump, 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 thump. The Emperor's head moves. The neck vertebrae crack, the sound echoing like a thunderclap. He looks down, with his one good eye and the empty socket filling with green fire. He looks at Simon. A voice speaks. It is not telepathic. It is physical. Vocal cords that haven't been used in 10,000 years are vibrating. You are late. Simon grins. He wipes sweat from his forehead. Sorry, traffic was terrible. Location, the warp, event, the shock wave. The reboot of the Emperor sends a shock wave through the immaterium. Nurgle's garden. The rot stops. Flowers, real, non-poisonous flowers, begin to bloom on the edges. Nurgle recoils, clutching his cauldron. The soup tastes like soap. Khorne's citadel. The blood god stands up from his skull throne. He laughs, a bellowing laugh that shakes the brass realm. Finally, the corpses awake. The great game begins anew. Tzientch screams in frustration as millions of strands of fate snap simultaneously. The timeline has become unreadable. Slaanesh feels a sharp pain. The Emperor's soul is no longer a buffet of agony. It is a fortress of will. Location. The throne room. The Emperor does not stand up. His body is still broken, fused to the machine. But he is present. He is lucid. Guilliman rushes up the steps. He falls to his knees, grasping the Emperor's skeletal hand. "Father," Guilliman weeps. "Father, you are back." The Emperor looks at Guilliman. The cold, calculating demeanor he had in the visions is gone, or perhaps altered. "Reboot," the Emperor rasps. "Stop crying. It is inefficient." But then the skeletal hand squeezes Guilliman's hand, a tiny, almost imperceptible gesture of comfort. The Emperor looks at Simon. "Spiral power," the Emperor muses. "The power of evolution. I sought to control evolution, to guide it." "That's the problem," Simon says, sitting down on the steps of the throne, utterly exhausted. "You can't guide it from a chair. You gotta walk with it." The Emperor closes his eye. The machine hums, a steady, powerful rhythm. "My body is ruined. The throne sustains me. But my mind is clear. The fog is gone." The Emperor's psychic voice projects to Valoris. "Custodian." Valoris drops to one knee. "My Emperor, the boy is not to be harmed. He is the catalyst." Valoris bows so low his forehead touches the gold floor. "It shall be done." The Emperor looks back at Simon. "You have bought us time, Simon the Digger, but the enemy knows I am awake. They will come, all of them." Simon chuckles. He stands up, his legs shaking a bit. "Let 'em come. We'll send 'em packing." Simon looks at the ceiling of the throne room. "But first, we gotta fix this place up. It's too gloomy. Needs more windows." Location. The throne room, Holy Terra. Time. T-minus 0.00 seconds to Operation Heaven Piercer. The Emperor sits upon the throne. He is glowing. The green spiral energy has fused with his golden psychic might, creating a hue that defies the color spectrum, a burning, iridescent chartreuse. The warp. The Emperor's voice shakes the entire Himalayan mountain range. "Is a sea. I have spent 10 millennia holding back the tide. But you, double asterisk." The Emperor looks at Simon, who is climbing into the cockpit of Lagann. "You intend to drink the ocean." Simon snaps his goggles into place. He grins. "I'm not gonna drink it. I'm gonna calm it down. Those guys in the basement have been making too much noise." Guilliman stands at the foot of the throne, his hand on his sword. "Simon, you are entering the realm of pure thought. Physics does not apply there. They are gods. They are infinite." "Infinite is just a measurement," Simon says, revving the engine. "And my drill doesn't have a limit." "Open the gate!" The Emperor commands. The webway portal beneath the throne, the one that has been besieged by demons for centuries, does not just open. It is blown off its hinges. A beam of pure light shoots from the throne, piercing the fabric of reality. It creates a tunnel, a road. Simon engages the thrusters. Lagann! Launch! The small red mech dives into the light, into the abyss. Location: the deep warp, the great game. Status: total conceptual collapse. The warp is formless, it is madness. But when Simon enters, his spiral field forces the madness to take a shape. It forces the chaos gods to manifest in forms that a human mind can comprehend, simply so they can be punched. Simon floats in a void of swirling colors, and then they appear. They are not planet-sized. They are galaxy-sized. They are the background radiation of the universe given malice. 1. Khorne. A titan of brass and blood, sitting upon a throne of skulls that stretches for light years. His breath is the sound of every war ever fought. 2. Nurgle. A bloated, rotting mountain of green flesh, surrounded by flies the size of moons. His laughter is the bubbling of a galactic plague. 3. Tzeentch. A shifting, crystalline avian horror, constantly shattering and reforming, weaving spells that rewrite the past. 4. Slaanesh. A beautiful, terrifying androgen, wrapped in silks made of screaming souls, radiating a hunger that eats stars. They look down at the tiny red speck. Narrator. The scale difference here is not physical, it is ontological. The chaos gods are the authors of this grim reality. Simon is a typo. Khorne roars. The sound wave alone vaporizes a million demon worlds. Tzeentch snaps a talon. 1,000 timelines where Simon was never born are instantly created. Nurgle exhales. The concept of metal begins to catch a fever. Slaanesh whispers. Every nerve ending in Simon's body is promised infinite pleasure if he just stops. You dare! Khorne's voice obliterates the silence. A mortal in the realm of gods. Khorne raises a sword, the ray. And of all things, it is long enough to sever a spiral arm of a galaxy. He swings. Simon doesn't move. He closes his eyes. You guys are huge, Simon says to himself, which means Simon slams a spiral key into the console. I can't miss. Narrator. Simon activates the spiral converter. He is not drawing power from a reactor. He is drawing power from the connection he made with the Emperor. He is drawing power from the field gazacle left on him. He is drawing power from every human on Terra looking up at the sky. Mass generation, infinite. Scale expansion, exponential. Super, Galaxy, Gurren, Lagann. In the blink of an eye, no, faster, Lagann expands. It absorbs the warp energy, converts it, and grows. It grows past the size of a titan, past the size of a planet, past the size of a star system. A mech the size of a galaxy materializes in the warp. It wears huge star-shaped sunglasses. Its shoulders are nebulae. Its drills are pulsars. Simon stands on the bridge of this cosmic titan, arms crossed. Who the hell do you think we are? Location: the Imperium. Event: the 1 versus 4. The chaos gods do not hesitate. They attack simultaneously. The assault. Khorne brings the sword down. It is a strike of absolute hatred. Nurgle vomits a stream of sludge that rots time itself. Tzeentch fires a beam of paradox light that turns victory into defeat. Slaanesh lashes out with a whip that enslaves the will. It is an attack designed to erase existence. Simon stands firm. Double boomerang spiral. The sunglasses on the galaxy-sized mech detach. They split into two massive energy blades. Simon throws them. Narrator. The boomerangs do not follow a flight path. They cut through the concept of hit boxes. Boomerang. A hit's Khorne's sword. The impact creates a shock wave that births a new universe. The sword of the blood god, indestructible for eons, cracks. Boomerang B slices through Nurgle's sludge. The rot touches the spiral energy and instantly calcifies into diamonds. The sludge turns into a shower of harmless, beautiful crystals. Now, the magician! Simon turns the mech toward Tzeentch. The Changer of Ways is casting a spell to rewrite Simon's DNA into that of a slug. Simon activates the Giga-drill. He doesn't aim at Tzeentch. He aims at the spell. Spiral spin barrier. The mech spins. The green energy creates a tornado. Tzeentch's magic hits the tornado and gets tangled. The logic of the spell, Simon equals slug, gets twisted by the logic of the spiral, Simon equals awesome. The spell reflects. Tzeentch is hit by his own paradox. The god of change momentarily turns into a giant, confused rubber duck. And for you! Slaanesh's whip wraps around the mech's arm. The Prince of Pleasure pulls, trying to drag Simon into the Palace of Excess. Simon doesn't pull back. He lets Slaanesh pull. You want me? Simon yells. Here I come! The mech dashes towards Slaanesh. The momentum catches the Dark Prince off guard. Simon, punch! A fist the size of the Milky Way connects with Slaanesh's jaw. Crack. Slaanesh flies backward, crashing through 7 layers of the warp. The Chaos Gods recoil. They are confused. They are concepts. They cannot feel pain. Yet they hurt. They realize for the first time in history that they need to work together. Truly work together. The 4 energies, red, green, blue, purple, begin to merge. Undivided chaos. They form a single horrific avatar, a giant of pure negation. It has Khorne's armor, Nurgle's bulk, Tzeentch's wings, and Slaanesh's speed. It towers over even the super galaxy Gurren Lagann. You are nothing. The avatar speaks with 4 voices. We are eternal. We are the mirror of humanity. As long as mortals sin, we exist. It raises a hand. A ball of black anti-reality forms. It is the size of the observable universe. Darkness beyond twilight. Extinction event. Simon looks at the ball of death. He looks at his console. The energy readings are redlining. They're right, Simon whispers. They are the mirror of humanity. They're our fear, our anger, our sadness. He hears a voice. Simon. It's the Emperor, but not just him. It's Guilliman. It's Valoris. It's Gazkul. It's the vendor in the market. Don't deny them, the Emperor's voice says. Surpass them. Simon smiles, tears stream down his face. Yeah, we aren't just fear. We aren't just anger. He stands up on the pilot's seat. We're hope. We're tenacity. We're the people who keep moving forward even when it hurts. Simon slams the controls forward. Let's go! Beyond the impossible! The super galaxy Gurren Lagann begins to crack. It sheds its armor. From inside, a new form emerges. It is made of pure light. It is composed entirely of the green spiral and the golden psychic energy of the Emperor. Tengen, Tapa, Emperor, Lagann. It is a being of pure will. It holds a drill that is longer than existence itself. The Chaos Avatar throws the universe of darkness. Simon throws the drill. Giga! Drill! Brrrr! The two forces collide. Sound ceases to exist. Time ceases to exist. There is only the black sphere of stagnation and the green drill of evolution. They push against each other. The chaos gods scream. It is impossible. Logic dictates we win. Entropy always wins. Simon's voice cuts through the void. Calm, clinical, absolute. I told you already. Kick logic to the curb and do the impossible. Simon twists the drill. That's how Team Dai-Guren rolls. The drill cracks the black sphere. It shatters. The drill continues. It pierces the avatar of chaos. It pierces the warp itself. It keeps going. It pierces the grimdark setting of Warhammer 40,000. A hole opens in the sky of the warp. Through the hole, a blinding, clean white light pours in. The chaos gods scream as they are bathed in the light. They do not die, they cannot die, but they are stripped of their dominance. They shrink. They scurry back into the shadows, terrified of the light of progress. The warp calms. The storm ends. Location: Holy Terra. Time: the first day of the New Age. The portal on the golden throne flickers and dies. The Emperor sits on the throne. He is no longer a skeleton. He is a man. An old, scarred man, but a living one. His body has regenerated. He takes a deep breath. Guilliman stands there watching the throne. Did he make it? Guilliman asks. A flicker of green light appears in the room. Simon falls out of the air. He hits the floor with a thud. He is back to normal size. No mech, just a boy in a torn blue coat, missing one shoe, his sunglasses cracked. He groans and rolls over. Man, Simon rubs his head. That was a workout. Guilliman rushes over. Simon, the Chaos Gods. Are they? They're still there. Simon sits up. You can't get rid of them completely. They're part of you guys. But Simon points to the sky, or rather the ceiling. I gave them a good scare. They're gonna stay in their room for a long time. Valoris walks to the window of the sanctum. He looks out. The smog over Terra is gone. The Great Rift, the tear in the galaxy, is gone. The stars are shining clearly, and in the distance, the Eye of Terror is no longer an open wound. It is a scar, healing. The Emperor stands up from the throne. He walks down the steps. The custodes fall to their knees in weeping reverence. The Emperor stops in front of Simon. He doesn't bow. He doesn't command. He extends a hand. Thank you, Simon. Simon takes the Emperor's hand. He shakes it. No problem, Emps. Just remember what I told you. What was that? Guilliman asks. Simon smiles, putting his cracked sunglasses back on. Don't believe in the you that believes in me. Don't believe in the me that believes in you. Simon points a thumb at the Emperor's chest. Believe in the you that believes in yourself. Narrator. And so, the 41st millennium ended. Not with a whimper, and not with the death of the species. It ended with a drill. The grim darkness remains in the shadows, for the universe is vast and full of terrors. The Tyranids are still hungry. The Necrons are still waking up. The Orks are still looking for a scrap. But the stagnation is over. The Imperium of Man has looked up from the dirt. They have remembered how to dream. And somewhere deep in the stars, a green light spirals on, waiting for the next wall to break.